Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday. Today is the day after Election Day, and so we're going to pretty much spend this whole episode talking about everything that's been going on, the takeaways and whatnot. So if you guys have been living under a rock or you guys don't care, whatever it is, former President Donald Trump has won the presidential election. He is the second president in history to be elected to two non-consecutive nominations. In addition to that, the Republicans will control the Senate. And last that I checked, the House wasn't officially ruled controlled by Republicans, but right now I think that's remain uncalled. We'll probably look into that on this episode. But nonetheless, we're going to be talking about everything that happened pretty much the past 48 hours, 72 hours. Yeah, and we'll be diving into what's really next for the next 4 years of the United States, what's to come, and let's get it. Jeremiah, how you feeling today?
I'm good, man. I am glad that it's over with though.
Oh man,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't, like we spoke about. I'm not really on
Yeah.
the selection or whatever. But I mean, I'm glad it's over with. Now we can get back to the money. So
Yeah, a
I'm
hundred
good.
percent. 100%. I love that. And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, okay, I got the vibes going on. I got the, the fireplace and all that.
Major vibes. Major vibes.
It's funny. I was telling my wife the same thing. Like, I'm glad this is over. This whole thing was making me very uncomfortable, whether that's good or bad. But I'm just glad it's over with, like you said. So, but with that being said, America has spoken, and Donald Trump will be the president for the next 4 years in
Yep.
America. It's going to take a couple days to get a final count of the vote, but President Donald Trump is on track to win not only the Electoral College, but the national popular vote as well. So, as I said, we're going to be diving into some key takeaways, specifically the ones that kind of relate to our community. We're going to be also diving into what we expect from President Trump's second term, and I guess just really giving our final thoughts. And before we do, I want to say this, right? What I've been, because I spent a lot of time today reading people's comments, reading their reactions, kind of like understanding where both sides are sitting at, right? And I totally get how people voting pro Trump, they're celebrating, they're feeling good, and people
Mm.
voting for Kamala, they're feeling down and whatnot. I get all that. Now, the one thing I can't agree with is the defeated mentality. It's
Wow.
just absolutely insane to me. Like people saying, I'm gonna move. This is the next 4 years is gonna be dog crap. It's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. And that is just one thing I can't sympathize with is the defeated mentality. And the reason why I say that is we talk about sports a lot on this podcast. Jeremiah's Michael Jordan, I'm Kobe, whatever. Winners win. Winners
Winners win.
find winners find a way to win. Whatever the circumstance is, no matter who wins this presidential election, whether it's the left, the right, Kamala, Donald
Doesn't
Trump,
matter.
it doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
Winners find a way to win, and I just can't sympathize with the defeated mentality, the woe is me mentality, and it's almost like we're putting these people on a pedestal, like these are our life savior, these are our saving grace, and we got to break that. We got to break that mentality. I personally have a mentality of Jeremiah's laughing because now I'm feeling hot with this fireplace on. Uh, I have a mentality where I'm going to seek opportunities with whatever is given to me. So if Trump's in here, if Kamala's in here, where are the opportunities? What companies are going to be
Exactly.
doing well that we can invest in? Is crypto going to be doing well now Trump's in? What policies can we benefit from? Winners win at the end of the day. And um, I want to just say that, and I know Jeremiah will have some thoughts on that. But look, y'all, at the end of the day, we can only save ourselves. You can only save your family. And if we're putting this much energy and thoughts into one person to be our saving grace, that's kind of a scary mentality to have. And I've been seeing a lot of that on social media today. And I get it. It didn't go the way, the majority, I shouldn't say the majority, but it didn't go the way that most of America wanted, or whatever the case is. Um, but we have to kill that mentality, man. We have to. That woe is me is just my thing is whatever you put out into the universe, whatever you put out into the world. If you say the next 4 years is going to be crap, that is what your life is going to look like in the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's going to be the stuff that you attract. It's funny, I got into I don't want to say an altercation. It was just back and forth. I've always tried to be non-emotional because that's just not me. Whatever it is, I've always told you guys, I follow money. I don't
Mm,
really, and there's money to be made, and regardless of who's in or who's out. But basically, the comment that I left for the person is, hey, neither Trump nor Kamala Harris, they're not God,
mm,
right? So they don't determine my success level. They don't determine how far I go or what I'm going to do or however. Like they're not. There's no determining factor. They don't really play a role in me. And I left a comment and I said, hey, to be honest, I was making money. I'm old enough. I was making money when Obama was in presidency. I
mm,
was making money. I had money back then, right? And that's in the middle of a recession. I'm gonna have money. I had money during COVID. I had money. Like it doesn't matter who's in there or who's not in there. I'm going to be successful regardless because I breed success, and that's the only way. Like you said, winners win. That's all I've ever known is to win. It's yes or yes. So it doesn't really matter who's in there. I don't ever base my what I do or the growth of my company or the growth of what we do, my group and our organization. I never base it on who's in the presidency. I could care less, to be
mm.
honest. It's still
Yeah.
going to grow and it's still going to be successful because that's the mentality that we have. So I totally agree with you, that defeated mentality. Oh, this person's going to do that. This person's going to do. I mean, whatever. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. At the end of the day, here's what's crazy, Chris. Neither one of these guys, they don't know you. You don't know
Mm,
them, or maybe you do. Maybe you're from where they're from, and you're their family. Okay, if you're their family, it's different. But the majority of us, they don't know who you are. They've never spoken to you. They never
mm,
met you. They don't know your dreams. They don't know your aspirations. They don't know, what you're working on or what you're passionate about. They don't know. They've never talked to you. So I don't understand how
mm.
you could give somebody so much power that knows nothing about you.
Yep.
And it's just it's wild, man. And we see a lot of that. And I'm hoping that as we do this show today, I want to get back to the objective, not the
Mm,
subjective. Subjective is people, right? That's a people problem and feelings and emotions. I want to get back to the objective part of Donald Trump coming into office. He is the president of the United States, whether he's yours, mine, he's the president of the United States, right? So what opportunities lie? What is his policies going to be? Where is he at? How does he think? How can I utilize that to my benefit? That's what we want to talk about.
mm. Yep. That's it. I mean, look. Yeah, man. I just seen some stuff on social today. I'm like, this
I
is
know it's
I
wild. Yeah.
I had seen some young lady. She was talking about, oh,
Mm.
I was gonna launch something new today, but due to what happened, I need a. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
I would have launched it. Yeah.
Uh,
And especially if it's linked anywhere near to the stock market. Oh, today would have been the perfect day.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm
spin it in a
riding that
way,
thing. Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah. 100%.
100%. But look, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some key takeaways. And one of the biggest stories of the race, which was, I know this is something that Jeremiah and I spoke about, is the Latino voters swung towards President Trump by staggering 25% points compared to the last 4 years. All right. So I know there is some different numbers that were being posted. I think I seen something where 60% of Latinos voted Trump. The
Mm.
statistic I have, it says Trump won the support of 45% of Latino voters compared to Harris that had 53. Now, if you look at 2020, he had just won 32% compared to Joe Biden's 65%. So whether it's 45%, whether it's 60, the point is that there is a huge swing of Latino voters that swung towards President Trump. Another thing that I wanted to point out is Republican flipped a couple Democratic states, such as West Virginia, Ohio, and Montana. And then they also held their ground on red leaning states such as Texas and Florida and Nebraska, which are, typically red states, and they held their ground on that. And yeah, those are the couple things I wanted to point out. I know Jeremiah has a couple things, but feel free to jump in here, man. Let's chop it up about this.
Um, I mean, Latinos going that direction. I don't know.
That's
Chris, let me
deep.
get your opinion. Huh? Go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying, like, I don't mean to cut you off, but the reason why potentially they swung that way, it's a deep conversation that may need
It
its
is.
own episode. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It's cultural,
Yeah.
especially the majority of the Hispanic population in America is of Mexican descent. I think by numbers, that's a fair statement. And in the Mexican culture, there is what they call machismo, right? And the
Hmm.
man runs things. He tells the woman to shut up. You say, he says jump. She says how high. Blah blah blah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying literally that's just part of the culture. And you can ask people, and they'll tell you that. So as a part of that just fundamentally, a Latino man, a Mexican male is not going to support a woman going for the president.
Mm.
That's number one. They don't feel she can complete the job. They don't feel she's up to it. She doesn't have the qualifications, which is a male off number one, right? Which is why you saw a big difference between Biden and Kamala. Okay, that's number one. Number two, and maybe this is something, Chris, we want to get into this or whatever, but I also think a big piece of it is racial. Um, I think that Kamala, whether you say she's not black or whatever, phenotypically she looks like a black woman, and then Biden was a white man. So white versus white, there's a different, and
Mm.
it's not us to be like racial or try to be disparaging or anything like that. These are just facts, and this is the way things are. Like just stating it the way that it is. Um, and then I also feel like the plans and the things that were set in place. Thirdly, traditionally Latinos, especially Mexican Americans, are very family based. They're very conservative in their beliefs.
Mm.
That's church, right? Whether it's usually Catholic, and then family based, strong family based. And so a lot of the points that the Democrats were on and what they hit on, and their focus was more in a space that was anti-conservative. It was a lot more progressive. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not going to hit in certain areas, especially
Mm.
in the Latino community where it's very family oriented, very church related. So these are just, I mean, for me, I think those are probably top three things that
Mm.
probably help to drive that vote away. Whether it's right or wrong, this is where you're at, man. Do you agree, Chris, or what do you think? What
Yeah,
what is your
I
thoughts
can
on
I can definitely see that, and it's funny that you brought that up because one of the questions that I had going into this conversation is I know they have numbers for Latinos, but I would love if they can break that down into, is it Puerto
men and
Ricans?
women?
Is it
Mm,
where is they from? Men and women as well, Mexicans.
yeah.
Where is everybody from? That would be a very interesting a statistic to see by subgroup where people are voting from.
I think the majority of the Latino, the Latin culture people, right? And this is a big difference between a lot of people don't say this, but the Hispanic versus Latin. I think the majority of that vote was Hispanic,
Mm,
um, right? It is a different culture. We all speak Spanish, but it's a different culture.
different
Just the
culture.
belief system and things like that. I think more of the Latinos, right? Caribbean, Southern American, I believe
Mm,
that a lot of them, outside of maybe Argentinian people, probably voted more Democrat.
mm,
But I could be wrong, you know. And it's still wild. Even if you say that, that's still crazy because you're first generation here or second generation in this country. And then you kind of like, the majority of that is voting for someone that's saying, hey, we really don't want your cousins over here that still live over. It's just
mm.
wild. But
Mm,
that tells you how strong the roots are, or how strong it could be to be anti whatever the Democrats are bringing to the table. And so
mm.
if I was them, I'd be examining that L and trying to figure out how it swung like that. Outside of the, a male and a woman thing, you can't correct that. But like on the basis of the belief system and the platform and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely what they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure out like what was it, what happened, how did we lose those votes, what happened to the states that were flipped. And even in my opinion, part of it could also be that, and not saying that this stance, this policy was bad by any means, I don't want to say that, but was there
Mhm.
too much of a focus on abortion? Was
Mm,
that too much of a focus, right? And what I mean by that is I from the people that I've spoken to, from the people that I've seen online,
yeah,
that is their number one reason why they voted a certain way. Nothing else. But if we
yeah,
look at from the people that I've seen, but if we look at what most Americans nowadays are complaining about, they're complaining about the economy. They're complaining that gas
yeah,
is too high. They're complaining
for
about
sure,
groceries,
for
um,
sure,
inflation. So
sure.
my thought process is yes, absolutely, leave that policy, but should there have been more focus on solutions for the economy? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I do agree. There's a piece of this as well. I'm not pro Harris, although there was some comments in the committee and all that. We already talked about that. I'll say this though. She came in late in the game. She was behind
Mhm.
the eight ball from the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she came in late because Biden halfway through decided he wasn't going to do it anymore, right? And we all know he's been senile since two
Hmm.
years ago. Whatever, call it what you want. That's what it is. Um, and then, of course, also people not forgetting that Trump was shot or the
Hmm.
assimilation of it or whatever you want to call it or whatever, right? And so that warranted a lot of support as well, along with Elon, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on here. But I'll tell you, this is what I'll say to that question. Um, there wasn't focused on the economy on either side,
Hmm.
right? People just believe, right, in their own brain, because of, and a very strong reason for this is because during COVID, a lot of
Hmm.
people received a stimulus check. And Trump was the president while that happened. Now, whether he came up with it because he actually didn't, but whether you believe that, that's a perception, right? Because he signed a check, and so you believe it was from Trump. I want another stimulus check, whatever. People are now hurting again, and they want another check. So I'm going to go to the person that signed that check. But wasn't really talk of the economy from either side, right? There was no actual plan for the economy.
Hmm.
The battle was abortion, right?
Right.
Which, whatever, you can go down that road. That's not for us to discuss really or go super deep into it. There's belief system of, faith-based or religion to where you just don't kill anything. I respect that. But then there's also the belief on another side that women have the right to their own body, which I can
Hmm.
respect that too. It's however, whatever. And there's counter positions to that, right? Um, it's very confusing because we had during COVID, right? There was a shot that people wanted to give you that, and that was one side, right? There was the blue,
Hmm.
and the red said no.
Right.
I got body freedom. You can't put this in me. But then on the other side, they're like, well, wait a minute. But then you flipped it because now you
Right.
say that a woman can't, right? And so there's all this stuff, and so you just get confused. And I didn't really see either party focus on what they were going to do for the economy. I heard Trump say that he was going to impose tariffs, 30,
Hmm.
40% tariffs on
Hmm.
China, which that's geopolitical and that's external. But on the actual, what are you going to do for America? Some people say, well, the tariffs are going to help America. They actually don't. But you see what I'm saying? You got to go deeper. I didn't hear
Yeah.
anything that was like a real plan. Like, hey, I'm running on this and I'm doing ABC and it's going to result in these tangible deliverables.
Hmm.
I didn't hear any of that from
Right.
either side. That's just
No, I,
me. I didn't hear that
I,
from anybody.
I think I could definitely agree with you. And you said it. You said there's a belief. To me, there's also a hope that
It's a hope.
uh it's a hope that Trump could do the same thing that happened You know what I'm saying? That's what people are hoping for when they're making these votes.
Completely different situation,
Right, right, right.
completely different analysis of the economy. Look, folks, every time that we sit on this podcast, we tell you what, do your due diligence. We have to
Hmm.
get better at understanding the economy, the way things move the economy, right? And to not be emotional in that aspect. But so many of us vote, we make decisions, we do so many things out of emotions,
Hmm.
right? And it doesn't lead you in the right direction. You just think and I feel, and you'll hear people, well, I feel. What about the numbers? What do the numbers say? What do numbers tell you based upon trends? I'm an engineer, right? So I want to look at the numbers. Can you give me the numbers? What do the numbers say? Well, that doesn't matter. I feel like it does. Well, I get what you feel, but what do the numbers say? And I don't feel like we got that from either side. And if anything is to be learned by this, to me, it's kind of funny because both party can kind of just sit and say, well, everybody's kind of sheep. We can tell somebody something and we can sway everybody in a
Everybody.
particular method without having to actually prove anything. I don't have
Yeah.
any data that proves anything. I
Mm.
don't see any data. Like nobody really, okay,
Yeah.
on the right side, they say, hey, the immigrants are causing everything to blow, whatever, right? And then here I am. I sent you that. We looked at the actual stats. Immigrant, non-documented, because they have to via taxes of the corporate. They're paying in, $100 billion. Like these are just
Yeah.
like things that aren't true, but there's a narrative and it's put out there, but it's not true. And nobody's actually looking at the real numbers to say what's true and what's not true. There's no
Yeah.
data being presented, either side, by the way.
Yeah, 100%. That is very important. And I want to get into something that you brought up, and we can kind of transition into Trump's
Sure.
agenda. You brought up the tariffs.
Yeah,
Now, uh, part of his agenda, Trump's agenda, the president-elect says that he will impose a 10 and 20% across the board of tariff on all $3 trillion worth of U.S. goods imported and a 60% tariff on all Chinese goods. Now, I have other ones that we'll get into if we want, but this one I had a question about. So when it comes to the tariffs, you
yeah.
mentioned like they say it's supposed to help America, but it's really not. Is it because that cost is going to be passed off on us anyways?
Of course. So if I'm charging the middleman, right, or the creator more, the end customer, which is us, what happens? That cost gets passed on to the end customer, right? So the
Right,
things that are
right.
imported that you purchase from China, the price goes up on those things. So you don't help yourself. You end like that's what I need people to understand. The cost, if it goes up, who does it go to? It goes to the end user, which is
Mhm.
us as the right, the client or the customer. We have to
Right.
pay that cost.
Right. And so I think the example I would give to people out there is like, look, if we buy a t-shirt, most of the t-shirts that we
Yep,
buy, they're not made in America. You're buying it from somewhere else,
correct.
Bangladesh, China, wherever. Um, 10 to 20%, tariff tax, now you're paying really $12 for a $10 shirt or whatever the case is. If it's coming from China, it's going to be more.
Mhm. Yeah. And so that $10 that you pay now is $15 because they have to account for that and create margin, right? For the cost that you placed on them, right? Now, how does that break down into on a grand scale of manufacturing? If you're manufacturing and your raw material comes from somewhere overseas, particularly China, which a large portion of manufacturing costs and things, whether it's metal or other things, come from China, right? Well,
Mhm.
now it costs
Mhm.
you more to generate or manufacture that good. What do? You pass that cost on to your clients or to the customers. And so they have to pay more money. And that's the only way you can stay profitable. And if they don't want to pay, now you're losing costs because now you've gotten all this inventory of this overpriced material because of the tariff.
Yeah.
That's just the front side of it. That's just cost wise. Not to mention geopolitical relationships start to that are already right not that well. Not they're not
Yeah.
doing well right now.
Right.
Everybody's like, oh, well, we can. He's cool with this. I mean, Trump's cool with Russia. We know that. That's cool, but not cool with China. And China is a big That's a big bear in the room. That's an elephant in the room, man. If you don't have that good relationship and now they start to get upset,
And speaking about
hey,
relationship, if you don't have a good relationship with the country right below us, um, that can affect a lot of things as well. So the next thing in his agenda is immigration in the
security.
southern border. Security, yeah. The president-elect has vowed to build a huge detention camp, implement mass deportation at a scale never seen before, and hire thousands of more border agents to for border security. So that's something else that he wants to implement as well. And by yeah, yeah,
It's great. No, it's great if
yeah.
I mean if warmongering and if jobs built up. It reminds me of the war on drugs, right? In the 80s and the 90s. So were we the ones bringing the more drugs in so you keep people job, like that's the type of stuff that happens, right? I mean, is the government buying most of the drugs and the guns, or like it's like why can't we build it off of something else? If we're gonna mass deportate people and send them back or whatever, however, right? What is the purpose of that? Because what is the
Mm,
belief system? The belief is that what immigrants are weighing on the welfare system, right? When we know in proportion, the majority of people on the welfare system are actually white people,
mm,
proportionately. This is just being honest. You can look this up. It's not immigrants, right? Because they don't qualify because they're non-documented, so they can't receive. See, you have
right,
to
right,
walk through
right,
these things.
right, right.
They're raping and pillaging and hunting and eating dogs and cats, and this is just false fear mongering
Yeah.
narratives that come out from. It's not true, right? It's not real. The majority of people that come into this country from other countries, they just want to get a job, and
Mm,
they do jobs that the majority of us as Americans would never do. You're not out there in the hot sun picking fruit or doing like these are things that you're not going to do. And you're not going to tell your children to do. And so it's
mm,
just a false narrative that's created. It's fear mongering, it's xenophobic, right? It's not real. This isn't real. So you're sending people back to what? To countries non-Mexico, because Mexico's actually doing pretty well right now. But non-Mexico, you're sending them back to countries that are at war, civil war, and you know they were seeking political asylum because their countries are craziness is happening in the country,
mm.
right? Um,
Well,
let's take it back. While we're on that, let's take it back. What if 200 or 300 years ago, what if the Native Americans who were here, if they had a council, and as soon as you arrive, they said, "Where'd you come from?"
mm,
Oh, you came from Ireland? No, 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 no. You got to go back there. We don't want that, right? That sounds that sounds crazy, right? That sounds crazy, but we're doing the same thing now. So it's
yeah,
like I
exactly.
don't know. It's kind
Yeah,
of
exactly.
weird. It's a little strange on that, uh,
Very.
which led back to your first point. You were talking about Latino vote that were that was going for. It's weird, right? I want to send you
Mm.
back. I don't know. What do you think about it overall? Do you think that that's a good thing, the mass deportation, or like what is your thoughts on that?
You know,
It doesn't affect us, by the way.
yeah, that's what I'm just that to me that's just starting a fire that does not need to be started.
I agree. I agree.
I think
I
that's
don't see what the purpose of it. What does that help in America? What does that help? What does that help? It's a distraction, right? It's a distraction because you don't have a plan. Because you don't have a plan because you don't understand economics. Because as a businessman, all you ever did was go and make loans from crazy banks and keep massive amounts of debt and never pay people back. So you don't actually understand business. So this is just me, right? Like,
right.
what does that help? Or can we sit down in a bipartisan effort and say, how do we fix America? Yes, we need to focus on us a little bit more. We probably shouldn't be focusing on other people's. I agree with that. But you have to kind of do that a little bit because now it will create a power vacuum. If you pull us out of places that we've been 20, 30 years, what happened is it's like a hydra, right? We saw that in Iran. You cut people out, you go and I mean, excuse me, Iraq. You go and you kill Saddam Hussein and then you just leave it flat. Then there's like 40, 50 factions that pop up and they're just infighting. and blowing each other up. And it like,
Mm.
so we have to sit down and we say, hey, it doesn't matter if I'm Republican, if I'm Democrat. How do we fix this country? How do we actively like make it a better place? And it's not through fear mongering and all this other. It's like through real solutions. And I haven't heard that from either side. Democrat or Republican, they don't have a plan for America.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
haven't heard.
man, this whole stuff, it's
We can
gonna be,
jump into his policies, but I don't.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Like, how is all this gonna be rolled out? Like, I'll even go into healthcare. Trump has promised to let vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to quote go wild with health in his administration. So whatever that means, go wild. I don't that doesn't sound like very much of a plan to me, right?
And,
Um,
and I'm not bashing him because I'm gonna be honest. If Kamala won, I saw. Look, this is crazy, and I'll say this and to keep it honest. I saw more of a plan for Puerto Rico than I did for America. It would help me and my people, but
yeah.
that would it help America? I don't think she had a. I don't see neither one of them with a plan. I don't see the plan. What? I'm just
Uh,
keeping it honest.
no,
Y'all
no,
know
no.
I'm gonna
I'm
keep it.
not. I'm not
I just
laughing at
don't.
you. I'm laughing at us. Like the next 4 years, I
I
don't.
don't
I don't
see a
even.
plan. And then people are like, well, he's gonna be good for my business. No, he's not. Actually, if you look at the numbers, business thrives under Democrats.
Mm.
I've looked over, and it's there's these are numbers, guys. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not either one or the other. But if you're looking at numbers of business, stock market, and business over the past 100 years, the economy's done better under Democrats. That's a fact. You can just go look. So it couldn't be business. So what really is it? And then
You
that's
know.
when you
You know who's
start.
gonna be good for business?
Who?
Yourself.
I exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. That's the point. It isn't. It
No, you're right.
isn't.
You're right.
It's
You're
not
right.
one of the other people. It's
Yeah, it's
literally you understanding what you do for your company, for your organization, for your group. It's you. It's
yeah.
just
And,
you.
and and look, y'all, we keep going back to like you, it being you, because that's what we want to continue to portray, not even portray, but continue to talk about on
Enforce
this,
and yeah.
enforce on this platform that it's always been about us. It's always been up to us to educate ourselves, do our due diligence, put the
Yes.
foot put our foot forward. Take those risks. It's on us. We can't expect other. We've been preaching this since this platform started. That's why we
Mhm.
keep going back to that. So,
I'm
something that go ahead.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. No, I was and then if you and then even this guys, if you base your decision based upon religion, right? And you said because you're a Christian, well, the Republicans are the party of the Christians or whatever. Listen, in America itself, wasn't this supposed to be the home of freedom? You choose what religion you are. Christianity does should not run the country. Is it a belief system that you believe in? Yes. Is it something I believe in? Yeah, I was raised like that. That's not what I'm saying, but it should be freedom of choice, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be? Isn't that what you said? That this is the home of freedom. If you're Hindu, if you're Buddhist, if you're whatever, it's as long as your religion isn't harming people, you're not talking about killing people, you're not talking about doing, immoral things, then that's these are all things that when I hear people and they give me their reasons, and I'm like, okay, cool, but that's not really what the basis of America is supposed to be. Not according to the Constitution. It's supposed to be freedom.
And it
Just
man, I don't even know if I want to go down this route, but it almost
no,
seems
go ahead.
like some people use that as a crutch, and it's
It is a
like
crutch. It is a crutch.
what you
There's
use that
people
as a
believe in
crutch.
God, but their actions, yeah,
What is
their actions are nowhere near God, right? Their actions
bro?
are nowhere near who you
That
think
that's
these people say that they're following. Because if it was Jesus and God, he was love, he was tolerance, he was care, he was no matter if you were Jew or Gentile, if you come from a different country, he sheltered you, he cared about you, he loved
right,
you. So I'm not trying to hear you talking about it's God,
bro.
and that's because they believe in Jesus. I don't know what Jesus you're talking about, but that's not who that person was. Just on what I read, but maybe I mean I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're talking about the white
I don't know.
Jesus.
It must be white Jesus. I don't know. Because he's more discriminative. I don't know. But the Jesus that I knew when I read the Bible, he loved everybody, right? He
Yeah.
didn't discriminate and said, hey, because you're Mexican or because you're from Honduras, I don't
Right.
love you. So if you're really following that person and you're saying that you voted for this person because they believe in that, but yet none of their actions, I mean,
Mm.
according to the book you read, the Bible that you said, right, that people will know them by their fruit. And the fruit of this person says that he doesn't believe in anything that you say that he says. The fruit says he's a devil. I mean, to be honest, if you because you hate people, you fear monger, you right, and her as well, because you lock
Hmm.
people up for stuff that you that like. It, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know me. I'm gonna lay it
Yeah.
flat on
I hear
whatever
you.
what it is. We need to do better, man. That's what I'm. And what does it come down to? Me and Chris always say this. We got to do for us. That's why we're building Latin Wealth to be a community to where we do for us. I want
Hmm.
to do for me. And if you don't believe in me, you don't believe in whatever. My morals and my standards, this is where we're doing in our community. We're building, we're looking to help people get to that place. That's what we're building, right? So we depend upon us. We depend upon me and Chris work together because we're brothers and we depend on us. I don't have to worry about if you don't want to, that's fine.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
we got to work for our own, we got to work for ourselves. And that's what I was trying to tell people today. It doesn't matter who won the president, that they're not going to save you. They're not a savior. Trump isn't God. He never could be. If he was, he's a horrible God.
Mm.
Harris as well. She won. She's not going to save you. We got to focus on, being better for ourselves. We got to focus on doing more due diligence. We have to learn about the economy. We have to learn, right, what financial decisions are going to place us and our family in a better position. That's where we need to
Mm.
be.
100%. I love that. One other thing that he wants to do, and we can, I know you
Yeah.
have the chat GPT if you want to run through
Yeah.
that
Go ahead.
quickly after. Ukraine and the Middle East, Trump said that he wants Israel's prime minister to end the war in Gaza by January should he win the election, which he did. Um, yeah, and he insisted that the war in Ukraine needs to end as well. So we did see, I think this morning, the prime minister of Israel, he did kind of shout out Trump and say, "Yo, congratulations." So it
Mm-hmm.
seems like they have a relationship there. Maybe he does make a contribution to ending the war in Gaza. I don't know, but these are kind of and look, we can literally do like an episode on this for the next week on what he said he's gonna do,
Oh man, people are
what's
so
next,
silly.
and whatnot. There's a lot of layers to this, but these are kind of the
People are
main
so
glaring
silly.
things. Yeah. So I'll let you
People are
jump
so
in.
silly. The left wing is run by Zionists, right? The left wing is Jewish people, very strong.
Yeah.
Soros. There's a lot of Jewish people that run Democrats, right? I'll break this down very simply.
Do it.
Okay, those Zionist people, they're gonna always be pro-Israel. There's a lot of
Mm,
money and things that go through Israel. That's why we align ourselves, and also it's key position in the Middle East, right? And in relation to beliefs, right? Judaism
mm,
is very close to Christianity, right? So there's a tie there. Okay, this is where we're at. Now follow me. Okay,
mm,
the right wing is pro-Christian, right? So they semi-align, but at the end of the day, they don't want their materials or the money going over to Israel, right? And so also you got Palestinians, and there's some massive atrocities that have gone on to the Palestinians. Who, by the way, if you guys don't understand, I'll break this down as well. Israel, the actual area where Israel is, that is Palestinian land.
mm,
We just went in the 40s after World War II and said this is now Israel. Okay, back that up and to finish that off on that particular discussion, that war will never end. That's a biblical war. Jews and Muslims, right? Islam and Judaism, that has always been fighting. The Palestinians and the Jews have been fighting for thousands of years. That will never end. It won't. You can't end that. You can't. You think, oh, we're gonna. It doesn't work that way. This is stuff that's thousands of years old, right? You think it's bad in LA, Bloods and Crips, and you can't like. It, oh, bro, this is so much worse than that. This is so much so much further than that. And so you're not gonna stop that. That's fictional. And if you believe that, you're silly. That's not going to happen. It won't stop. That's one thing. Now him with Ukraine and Russia. With Trump having a good relationship with Putin, that's a possibility because Russia was the aggressor. Trump could maybe possibly talk about lowering some tariffs on Russian oil, increasing that money flow over here. He could do that. That is true. I believe that because if Russia stops being aggressive, the aggressor on that, and Trump can work out some tariff stuff with Putin, and they can sit down and run that out. That's probably factual,
Mhm.
and that will be beneficial to the American economy. That is true. I'll give him that. If he could do that, that's going to be more money that stays home, even on the
Mhm.
defense spending. If that money is, but now, guys, listen to this. It can't go to. It can't leave the Ukraine and then go to the southern border because it's the
Mm.
same spending. See, now it just goes from there. Well, at least that's to keep us safe and safe from what
A good point.
I lived in Texas.
That's a good point.
These are all just thought processes, right? But I'm
Yeah.
saying you can't take that spending there and then it goes directly to the border
Yep.
because then that money, then it's not actually staying and circulating inside the U.S. economy. But
Yeah.
hey,
No, those are
sounds good.
really valid and good points. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up? I know you had the chat GPT. We may have hit some of
No, I
those.
mean, I think we
Yeah.
we pretty much touched on it.
Cool.
I
Cool.
mean, I feel like I want people to be I want people to be educated. When I see the
Yeah.
majority of the votes and I ask people why they voted the way that they voted, I see that people lack education. I don't see
Mhm.
sound decisions. I see opinions, and I don't see when you're looking at a president, the president has to be someone that you feel can run the country. In
Mm.
this country with us, right? There's Democrats and Republicans. So if that person is so polarizing that they can't ever get the respect or the support from the other side, that's probably not the best person. I'm just saying, you probably want someone that they're not going to like compromise your morals or whatever, but that person has to be able to work with the other side. Because what ends up happening is it's 2 years into their presidency, right? It's midterm elections. And then the House totally flips. And then if you make people mad, now it goes to the other side, and now you can't get
Mhm.
anything through. This
Yep.
is this is understanding politics, but that takes you reading, that takes you understanding the legislative, the executive, right, the judicial branch. There's three different branches of government. You have to understand these things and the way they all work together. So if anything, study, read, learn more about economics, learn about whoever is president. If if Trump's in office and he likes to do a whole bunch of oil, then I'm going to be investing in commodities, which I've been doing anyway. But it's
Mm.
learning where to invest and how to do that, and reading more up about the way things work. That's what I want to
100%.
see.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And look, um, we would love to hear from y'all as well. I know our last video we made, there's people that made comments. Everybody pretty much made a respectful comments, which is cool. Leave your comment down below. If you guys completely disagree with us, if there's something that we missed that we didn't hit on, please let us know. We'll love to continue to hit on these topics and dig deeper, right? And even look, if you have an interesting perspective, we love to even have you on the platform. We're open to that. We're open to all these options. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it from us. And anything else before we want to go? We said a lot on this episode, so
We
I
said
don't,
a lot. We
I
said a
don't
lot.
think I got it.
I'm wishing everyone the best. I want you guys to
Yeah,
be encouraged. I want
yeah,
you to know that it doesn't matter who won. You are responsible for you. I keep saying that because I don't want to see people talking about, oh, well, this person. I don't care. And I say it again. I was making money when Obama was president. I was making money when Bush was president. It doesn't matter. Go be fruitful. Go make your money. Be plentiful. Be abundant. It doesn't matter who is the president. They don't affect you like that. I'm trying to
mm,
tell you. If you're like in the army or you're in the military, then I understand because their policies may directly affect you if you're going off to war. You're not like, okay, cool. But if you're not, man, go to work. Dream big. Have your ideas.
mm,
Create, man. Go and do things that you need to do. It doesn't matter. That's what it's about. It doesn't matter who's there. I keep saying it, Chris. We got to push it. We don't want to see the defeated victimism. I don't want to see that, man. It doesn't matter. Go be great. The person doesn't have to be black. They could be white. They could be green. That person could be a Martian. I don't care who they are. We are going to be great. Line Wealth's going to keep growing, and you should keep growing. That's what I
mm.
say.
I love it. 100%. They could be black, white, they could be orange.
Hey, give me orange, bro. They're already orange. They're already orange. Anyway,
No.
definitely
I love
cool,
it.
man.
No. He said it. Good word. Leave your comments down below. What you guys think? If there's anything that you guys want us to hit on next week, if you want to be on, if you think you could have a conversation
Oh,
with us, fruitful conversation. We love to have you on one of these episodes. It's the Latin Wealth family. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.